Have you ever caught yourself saying, "I'm just so lazy"? You scroll through your feed, see others accomplishing things effortlessly, and the feeling of inadequacy takes over. You begin to wonder why it's so hard for you to get things done. Why you're stuck in this rut. It's easy to fall into the trap of labeling yourself as lazy. But what if I told you that you're not lazy at all? The truth is, what we often call laziness is just a symptom of something much deeper. You're not lazy. You're simply lost. Think about the last time you struggled to start a task. Maybe a big project at work or even something personal, like starting a new fitness routine. It wasn't about laziness, was it? You had the intention to get things done, but something stopped you. It wasn't the lack of effort. It was a lack of clarity. You see, when you don't know where you're going, it's incredibly hard to summon the energy to take the first step. You're not motivated because you're unsure of what the end goal even looks like. And when you're unsure about where to go, it's natural to stay stuck, to freeze. This feeling of being lost is often confused with laziness. When you lack direction, the energy that should be driving you forward dissipates. You end up in a cycle of overthinking and self-doubt, which can feel like procrastination. But it's not laziness. It's the fear of not knowing where to start. Unsure. You've been there, feeling like you're doing everything you can, but still getting nowhere. You push yourself, but the effort feels meaningless because you don't know the destination. It's like trying to drive to a place without a map. The roads are endless, the journey uncertain, and you keep wondering why you're not getting anywhere. In those moments, it's easy to think, "I'm just lazy. I'm not trying hard enough." But that couldn't be further from the truth. In reality, you're not lazy. You're just lost. And the first step to overcoming this feeling is realizing that the path forward begins with clarity, with understanding where you want to go. Once you see that, motivation will follow. It's time to shift the way we think about our struggles. Instead of blaming yourself for being lazy, recognize that you're simply in need of a clearer direction. And trust me, you can find it. So, if you're not lazy, what is it that's keeping you stuck? What's behind that constant battle to start something and finish it? The truth is, the real reason you might be procrastinating, avoiding tasks, or feeling like you're not doing enough isn't laziness. It's disconnection and lack of direction. Think about the last time you found yourself avoiding a task that you knew was important. Maybe it was an essay you had to write, a project you needed to complete, or a goal you promised yourself you would achieve. You knew it mattered, yet there was a voice in your head convincing you to put it off, to scroll on your phone for just 5 more minutes, or to do anything other than what you actually needed to do. This is a classic case of procrastination, and procrastination doesn't come from laziness. It comes from a deeper source, lack of clarity and overwhelm. Imagine trying to climb a mountain with no map, no sense of the path ahead. You know you need to reach the top, but you're unsure of the steps, unsure of the route, and unsure of the tools needed to get there. It's overwhelming. The mountain seems too steep, too high, and too uncertain. So instead of starting the climb, you stay where you are, stuck in indecision and confusion. This is exactly what happens when we feel overwhelmed. When we don't have clarity about what we want or how to get there, it's easy to avoid action. The brain does this because it's trying to protect you from feeling overwhelmed, frustrated, or fearful of failure. We call this analysis paralysis. The moment you feel uncertain, your brain becomes hyper-aware of all the possible outcomes, and instead of choosing one path, it does nothing. This mental fog makes you feel like you're being lazy, but in reality, it's your brain's defense mechanism kicking in. It's trying to keep you safe from making a mistake or facing failure. Here's the thing. Procrastination isn't about you being lazy. It's your mind's way of telling you that you don't have a clear vision of the outcome, the process, or both. When you lack clarity, motivation is hard to come by. Another reason you might feel stuck is that you've lost touch with your purpose. When you don't know why you're doing something, or you're not clear about the outcome, your motivation dies. Your why is the fuel that drives action, and without it, you're left wondering why you even started in the first place. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you felt truly excited to work on a project, to achieve a goal, or to learn something new? Do you remember the spark of passion or the feeling of purpose driving you forward? That feeling came when you were connected to something bigger than just the task. You were driven by a deeper why that gave you the energy to take action, even when the task was difficult. But when that why is unclear, when the task feels disconnected from your true desires, that's when procrastination sets in. This is the exact reason why some people seem to move forward effortlessly with their goals. They know why they're doing what they're doing. They have clarity. Now, you might be wondering, okay, I get it. I'm not lazy. But how do I break free from this cycle of confusion and indecision? The first step to overcoming procrastination is recognizing that it's not laziness, but a lack of clarity and purpose. Once you accept that your struggle isn't a reflection of who you are, but a sign that you're lost, the next step is to find direction. Here's where the power of small, focused action comes in. The more specific and clear your goals are, the easier it becomes to take action. Instead of telling yourself, I need to get my life together, try breaking it down. Focus on one thing at a time. Define your steps clearly. Ask yourself, what is the next step I can take that will bring me closer to my goal? It's about taking one small action instead of being overwhelmed by the big picture. When you take one small step, you build momentum. You show your brain that action is possible, and with each little victory, you start to feel more confident and more capable. For example, if you're struggling with a big project, break it down into smaller tasks. Instead of finish the project, aim for research for 15 minutes, or write one paragraph today. These small, manageable actions will make the task feel less overwhelming and help you break free from the feeling of being stuck. This is where the concept of clarity comes in. When you know exactly what your next step is, the road doesn't seem as long. It's not about doing everything at once. It's about getting clear on one step at a time. So, the next time you feel like you're being lazy, remember that you're just disconnected. The key is to find that clarity, that purpose, and that focus to guide you forward. When you do, the energy will follow. You'll find yourself moving toward your goals with a sense of direction and motivation that you didn't think was possible. If you're still with me, then you've already begun to realize that laziness isn't the issue. The problem is much deeper than simply lacking motivation. In fact, the root cause of feeling stuck, unproductive, and unsure of where to go next is often not about the tasks at hand, but about a disconnection from something deeper within you. Your sense of purpose and clarity. So, what are the root causes of feeling lost, unmotivated, and unable to move forward? One of the most significant reasons people feel lost is overwhelm. In today's world, we are constantly bombarded with information, expectations, and choices. Whether it's social media, work deadlines, family responsibilities, or financial worries, it feels like there's always something demanding your attention. When you're overwhelmed, it's easy to feel like you're falling behind. It becomes hard to focus on one thing because you're juggling multiple things at once. You end up in a mental fog where everything feels urgent and important, but nothing feels doable. This constant state of overwhelm leads to paralysis by analysis. You think about everything you need to do, but because it's too much to handle, you don't take action. And in the absence of action, you end up feeling like you're lazy, even though your mind is just trying to protect you from the mental chaos. To combat overwhelm, it's essential to break things down. Rather than looking at everything that needs to be done, focus on one task at a time. When you're feeling overwhelmed, ask yourself, what's the next best step I can take? This shifts the focus from a mountain of tasks to one small manageable action. Another reason you might Feel lost is a lack of purpose. When your actions aren't connected to a larger goal or vision, it's easy to feel directionless. Many people go through life simply reacting to situations, rather than living with a clear sense of purpose. If you're unclear about why you're doing something, or if your goals don't excite or inspire you, it can feel like you're moving in circles. Every day becomes a grind without a sense of progress or fulfillment. You might think to yourself, "I'm working hard, but I don't feel like I'm going anywhere." This is often because you haven't connected what you're doing today to your larger goals or deeper values. Without this connection, you lose the energy and drive to take consistent action. When you know your purpose, every step, no matter how small, feels like it's taking you closer to something meaningful. The fear of failure is another powerful force that keeps you stuck. Whether it's failing in front of others or failing to meet your own standards, the thought of failure can be paralyzing. When fear controls your actions, it creates a cycle of inaction. Most of us have inner critics that tell us we're not good enough, that we'll never succeed, or that our efforts will be a waste. These thoughts can be so powerful that they prevent us from even trying. You might look at a task and think, "What's the point? I'll probably mess it up anyway." This fear and self-doubt stem from past experiences where we've faced challenges and failed, and the mind starts to generalize these failures to every new attempt. But here's the truth: failure is not final. In fact, failure is often the greatest teacher. You can only grow if you're willing to step outside of your comfort zone and risk failure. The key here is to reframe failure as an opportunity to learn rather than something to avoid. Failure doesn't mean you're incapable. It means you're trying. It means you're moving forward. If you stop fearing failure, you'll find that you're capable of so much more than you imagined. In today's world, comparison is a killer of progress. You scroll through social media or look at your friends' lives and see them succeeding in ways you're not. It's easy to feel like you're falling behind, like you're not doing enough or achieving what you're supposed to be achieving. This comparison game makes us lose sight of our own path and unique timeline. Your journey is your own, and it's okay if it doesn't look like anyone else's. The pressure to meet external expectations from society, family, friends, or even your own self-imposed standards can make you feel like you're always chasing someone else's vision of success. But here's a liberating thought: your path is unique. You don't have to measure your worth by someone else's success. Your worth is not defined by external achievements, but by your willingness to pursue your own goals at your own pace. Finally, your conditioning plays a huge role in how you perceive yourself and your ability to take action. From childhood, we internalize messages from our parents, teachers, peers, and society about who we should be, what we should do, and what is possible for us. These messages create limiting beliefs that keep us trapped in a cycle of self-doubt and inaction. For example, if you were told growing up that you weren't good at math or that you couldn't be successful in a creative field, you may have internalized those beliefs and allowed them to shape your future decisions. But the reality is, you are not limited by the beliefs of others. You are capable of far more than you realize. And the first step to breaking free from this cycle is to recognize those limiting beliefs for what they are: false narratives that no longer serve you. So, why do you feel lost? It's not because you're lazy. It's because you're overwhelmed, disconnected from your purpose, and carrying the weight of past fears, doubts, and limiting beliefs. The good news is that you don't have to stay lost. The first step is to recognize these root causes, then begin to untangle yourself from them. Once you understand what's holding you back, you can take intentional steps toward finding your way. And remember, you are not alone. Everyone feels lost at some point, and it's not a sign of weakness. It's simply an invitation to find clarity, to reconnect with your purpose, and to move forward with confidence. Now that we've explored the root causes of feeling lost, overwhelm, lack of purpose, fear of failure, and comparison. It's time to tackle a crucial truth. You are not lazy. In fact, you've been operating under a misconception that has held you back from reaching your true potential. The reason you feel stuck, frustrated, or disconnected isn't because you're inherently lazy, but because you're lost. And the first step in getting out of this rut is to recognize and reframe your perception of yourself. When you're feeling unmotivated, your mind immediately jumps to conclusions like "I'm lazy" or "I'm not working hard enough." You may feel guilty for not accomplishing more, or you may compare yourself to others and feel inferior. This is cognitive distortion, a mental pattern that makes you believe your current state is permanent and personal. But the truth is, you're not lazy, you're just lost. And losing direction can make it hard to find your way. Think about the last time you felt stuck. Was it because you were physically incapable of doing something? Or was it because you didn't know how to start or what the end goal even looked like? The inability to get things done isn't about laziness. It's about disconnection from your purpose. If you're unclear about your why or unsure about the next step, it's natural to feel lost and unmotivated. When you lack a sense of direction or purpose, everything feels like a huge, overwhelming task. It's not about not trying hard enough. It's about not knowing where to go. If you've been telling yourself that you're lazy, it's time to hit pause and reflect on the deeper truth. Instead of focusing on the negative labels you've given yourself, take a moment to ask why you're feeling stuck. What's behind this feeling of laziness? Why are you avoiding tasks? The answers might not be immediately clear, but by asking the right questions, you'll start to uncover what's truly going on inside. Here's a powerful exercise. Sit with your thoughts for a moment. Without judgment, observe the reasons you believe you're lazy. Is it because you're overwhelmed? Do you feel disconnected from the goal? Is there an underlying fear of failure? Understanding the root cause behind these thoughts will help you challenge the belief that laziness is your true identity. Self-reflection opens the door to clarity. Once you realize that feeling lost isn't a personal flaw, but rather a symptom of being disconnected from your purpose or direction, you can begin to move forward. Once you understand that you're not lazy but simply lost, it's time to reframe your thoughts. This is where the real transformation begins. Instead of using negative labels like "I'm lazy," try saying, "I'm feeling lost, and I need to find clarity." By shifting your perspective, you stop identifying with the idea of laziness and start seeing it for what it is, a temporary state that can be changed. This shift in thinking empowers you to take action rather than remain stuck in self-criticism and inaction. When you realize that feeling lost is the real issue, you can finally start to take action. Clarity is the antidote to the feeling of being lost. Without clarity, you stay stuck. But once you gain a clear understanding of your goals, your next steps, and your purpose, action becomes easier. Here's an important concept to grasp. Clarity is not something that magically appears. It's something you must actively seek. It requires effort and self-reflection. But when you have clarity about your direction, even small steps feel purposeful. When you feel lost, it can feel impossible to know where to start. But the beauty of clarity is that it doesn't require massive action all at once. It just requires small steps that align with your greater purpose. These small actions build momentum, and that momentum leads to progress. Start by making one small commitment today. This could be anything: reading a page of a book, writing down a goal, or scheduling a time to research something important to you. These small commitments send a powerful message to your subconscious: I am moving forward. And as you take these small actions, clarity will begin to emerge. With each step, you'll gain confidence, and soon the overwhelming feeling of being lost will be replaced with a sense of direction and purpose. Finally, you must shift from self-doubt to self-belief. When you're lost, it's easy to fall into the trap of thinking you're incapable of finding your way. You might feel like you're not smart enough, not disciplined enough, or not good enough. But these beliefs are not truths. They're just old stories that you've been telling yourself for far too long. The truth is, you are more than capable of finding your way. You've already shown resilience just by facing the challenge of feeling lost. Every step forward, no matter how small, is proof of your strength. The most powerful tool you have is belief in yourself. When you start seeing yourself as someone who is capable of finding their direction and achieving their goals, that belief will drive you forward. So, the next time you feel overwhelmed or stuck, remind yourself, you are not lazy. You are simply lost, and being lost doesn't mean you can't find your way again. In fact, it's often the beginning of a powerful journey toward clarity, purpose, and self-discovery. By reflecting on the real reasons behind your procrastination, reframing your thoughts, and taking small, meaningful actions, you'll begin to feel less lost and more in control of your journey. You're not stuck. You're just on the verge of discovering something important about yourself. And that journey? It starts today. Now that we've reframed the idea of laziness, it's time to explore the most important step in moving forward: finding clarity and purpose. If you felt lost, disconnected, or stuck in a cycle of procrastination, the key to breaking free is understanding what you truly want and setting a clear direction for your life. Clarity is the compass that guides your actions. Without it, you're wandering aimlessly, unsure of where you're going or why you're going there. When you don't have clarity, every task feels monumental and overwhelming because you lack a vision of where it will take you. Think about it. When you wake up each day, how clear are you on what you need to achieve? How well defined are your goals? If you don't know exactly what you want to accomplish, you might find yourself procrastinating, feeling lost, or constantly doubting whether your efforts are worthwhile. But when you have a clear sense of purpose, everything changes. Tasks that once seemed impossible become easier to tackle because you know exactly what you're working toward. The first step in finding clarity is self-discovery. This means taking time to understand who you are, what you value, and what truly excites you. Without this understanding, it's easy to get caught up in doing things for the wrong reasons, because society expects it, because others are doing it, or because it's what you think you should be doing. But when you reconnect with your authentic self, your goals start to align with what genuinely brings you joy and fulfillment. Once you've connected with your values, the next step is to set clear, actionable goals. It's easy to get overwhelmed by the big picture, so it's important to break down your larger dreams into smaller, more manageable tasks. For example, instead of saying, "I want to be successful," a clearer goal might be, "I want to complete my business plan by the end of the month," or "I want to work on my fitness for 30 minutes every day." These goals are specific, measurable, and time-bound, which makes them more achievable. Setting clear goals also helps you develop a sense of direction. When you have a clear roadmap, it's easier to stay focused and motivated because you know exactly where you're headed. You can also track your progress, which reinforces your sense of accomplishment and boosts your confidence. It's easy to feel overwhelmed when you think about all the things you have to do, especially when you're unclear on what to prioritize. But clarity doesn't come from trying to do everything at once. It comes from focusing on one thing at a time. Start by breaking down your larger goals into small, manageable tasks. Each small step builds momentum, and that momentum helps you stay on track. For example, if your goal is to write a book, don't focus on finishing the entire manuscript at once. Start with writing 1 page a day. It's simple, but over time, these small actions add up and create significant progress. By taking one small action at a time, you move from feeling overwhelmed and lost to feeling productive and purposeful. Each small step you take provides a sense of direction, and allows you to see your progress clearly. Clarity is a powerful tool, but it's consistency that truly brings results. One of the biggest reasons people feel lost is that they start something but never stick with it long enough to see it through. They may be excited at the beginning but quickly lose motivation when the going gets tough. To stay on track, focus on developing consistent habits that support your goals. This doesn't mean being perfect or doing everything flawlessly. It means showing up every day, even when you don't feel like it. Consistency is what turns small actions into big results. It's the difference between a fleeting idea and a long-term achievement. When you build small, consistent actions into your routine, you'll start to feel the sense of clarity and purpose that you've been searching for. As you start to take small, consistent steps toward your goals, you might encounter fear or self-doubt. It's natural to feel nervous when you're stepping outside your comfort zone or challenging old beliefs. But the key is to acknowledge the fear without letting it control you. Remember, fear is not an indication that you're on the wrong path. It's a sign that you're growing. The more you push through your fear, the clearer your purpose will become. When you take action despite your fears, you reinforce the belief that you are capable and that you are moving in the right direction. Finding clarity and purpose is the ultimate antidote to feeling lost. When you have a clear sense of direction, everything else falls into place. Small steps build momentum, consistency keeps you on track, and fear becomes an ally, pushing you toward growth. Remember, the key to success isn't about doing everything perfectly. It's about knowing where you're going and taking the necessary steps, no matter how small, to get there. The moment you find clarity and connect with your purpose, you'll feel like a weight has been lifted. You'll stop doubting your potential and start believing in the power of every small action you take. We've explored the roots of feeling lost, the importance of finding clarity and purpose, and how to take actionable steps toward creating the life you want. But there's one more crucial factor that plays a pivotal role in your journey to overcoming procrastination and discovering your true path. Persistence. Persistence is the force that drives you forward when things get tough. It's the ability to keep going even when you don't see immediate results, when the path seems unclear, and when you're unsure whether your efforts will pay off. It's what separates those who achieve their goals from those who give up along the way. One of the biggest misconceptions people have about persistence is that it means always being perfect, always being on track, and never stumbling. But in reality, persistence isn't about perfection. It's about consistency, resilience, and the willingness to keep moving forward, even in the face of setbacks or challenges. Imagine you're walking down a long path, and along the way, you encounter obstacles, mud, rocks, or even sudden storms. You could stop, turn back, and give up. Or you could push through, step by step, until you finally reach your destination. That's what persistence is all about, taking one step at a time, no matter how difficult it gets. Life is full of ups and downs, and every journey involves obstacles. But the key is to keep moving forward even when things don't go according to plan. Persistence means showing up, even on the days when you don't feel like it. It means continuing to put in the effort, even if it feels like nothing is changing. Along with persistence, you also need to cultivate self-belief, the belief that you are capable of reaching your goals and that you deserve the success you seek. Without self-belief, persistence becomes much harder. If you don't believe in yourself, you'll find it difficult to stay committed, especially when challenges arise. Self-belief is the foundation on which persistence is built. If you don't believe that your efforts are worthwhile, or if you don't believe you have the ability to succeed, you'll lose momentum the moment things get tough. But the good news is that self-belief is something you can cultivate. It starts with acknowledging your strengths, embracing your flaws, and recognizing your potential. Every time you succeed, no matter how small the success, you build confidence in yourself. Each step forward reinforces the belief that you are capable and worthy. On your journey, you will face setbacks, moments when things don't go as planned, when progress feels slow, or when you feel defeated. These are the moments when persistence is truly tested. The difference between those who succeed and those who give up is often how they respond to setbacks. When setbacks happen, it's important to accept them as part of the process. Setbacks don't mean failure. They simply mean that you're on the right path and you're learning along the way. In fact, setbacks are often the greatest teachers. They force you to adjust, adapt, and grow. Instead of seeing setbacks as roadblocks, view them as opportunities to build resilience. Every time you face a challenge and keep going, you reinforce your belief in your ability to overcome anything that comes your way. This builds your inner strength and prepares you for the next phase of your journey. Persistence doesn't always mean achieving big wins right away. It often involves celebrating small wins along the way. These small victories keep you motivated and help you see the progress you're making, even when the larger goal feels far off. For example, if your goal is to write a book, the idea of completing a whole manuscript can feel overwhelming. But if you focus on writing one chapter at a time, or even just one paragraph, each of those small accomplishments will move you closer to your final goal. The key is to acknowledge every step forward, no matter how small. These small wins act as reminders that you're moving in the right direction, and they keep your motivation high. Persistence doesn't mean pushing yourself beyond your limits. It's important to remember that self-compassion plays a crucial role in the process. When you're striving toward your goals, be kind to yourself during setbacks and mistakes. Perfection isn't the goal, progress is. Take the time to celebrate your efforts, even when the results aren't immediate. Give yourself credit for showing up, for trying, and for continuing despite challenges. Self-compassion fuels persistence, because it helps you stay motivated without burning out or becoming discouraged. Be patient with yourself. Understand that real change takes time, and that consistency is the key. It's not about rushing to the finish line. It's about enjoying the process and allowing yourself to evolve as you move forward. Throughout history, countless individuals have embodied the power of persistence. Thomas Edison, for example, faced thousands of failed attempts before finally inventing the light bulb. He didn't see those failures as defeats. He saw them as learning experiences. When asked about his many failures, Edison famously said, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." Another example is J.K. Rowling, the author of the Harry Potter series. She was rejected by several publishers before her book was finally accepted. But she kept writing, believing in her story and her ability. Today, Harry Potter is one of the best-selling book series in history. These examples show that persistence isn't about avoiding failure. It's about not giving up, no matter how many obstacles stand in your way. In your journey to find clarity, purpose, and success, persistence will be your greatest ally. It's not about being perfect. It's about being resilient, consistent, and believing in yourself. As long as you keep moving forward, you are making progress, even if it doesn't feel like it at times. So no matter how many setbacks you face, no matter how many days you feel lost, keep going. Persistence, combined with self-belief, will carry you through. And remember, the person you are becoming through this journey is just as important as the destination itself. We've explored a lot together on this journey. From recognizing that you're not lazy but simply lost, to discovering the power of clarity, persistence, and self-belief. But now, it's time for the most important part of all, taking action. Action is where transformation happens. And it's through consistent action that you'll break free from the cycles of procrastination and self-doubt that have held you back. At this point, you've already learned that clarity gives you direction. Persistence helps you stay on track. And self-belief provides the courage to keep moving forward. But here's the truth. None of this will matter if you don't take action. Your true potential is locked inside you, waiting to be unleashed. But to unlock it, you must take that first step. It doesn't matter how small that step is. What matters is that you're moving forward. So ask yourself right now, what's the first step I can take toward my goals today? It doesn't have to be big or grand. In fact, the smaller, the better. Just pick one thing and do it. Maybe it's as simple as writing down your goals, or committing to working for 15 minutes on a task that's been weighing on your mind. The key is to start. It's the beginning of creating momentum that will carry you forward. It's easy to feel overwhelmed by the big picture. When you look at the distance between where you are and where you want to be, it can seem impossible. But here's something powerful. Success doesn't come all at once. It's built from a series of small steps that accumulate over time. Take a moment and think about someone you admire. Someone who's achieved something significant. Do you think they reached their success without feeling lost, overwhelmed, or stuck? No. They got there by taking small actions every single day, by showing up even when things were tough, and by trusting that the next step, no matter how small, would get them closer to their goals. Success is the result of persistence and consistency, not perfection. Don't let the fear of not being perfect stop you from taking that first step. You don't have to have everything figured out right now. You just have to start. And once you start, you'll realize that momentum is a powerful force. The more you do, the more you'll feel like doing. The more you move, the more energy you'll have to keep going. As you begin to take action, it's natural for fear and doubt to creep in. Those negative thoughts might say, "What if this doesn't work?" Or, "I'm not good enough." But here's the thing. Fear is a sign that you're on the right path. It means you're pushing yourself outside your comfort zone. And that's exactly where growth happens. The key is not to let fear stop you. Acknowledge it, but don't let it dictate your actions. Understand that fear is a natural part of growth. It's there to remind you that you're challenging yourself, which is exactly what you need to do to move forward. And when doubt comes knocking, remind yourself that you've already taken the hardest step, deciding to take action. The rest is just showing up, day after day, trusting that every small step is getting you closer to your destination. Perfection is an illusion. It's a trap that will keep you stuck forever, waiting for the perfect moment, the perfect conditions, or the perfect version of yourself. The truth is, there will never be a perfect moment to start. And there will never be a perfect version of yourself. The key is to commit to progress, not perfection. As long as you're moving forward, no matter how small the steps, you're making progress. Every step you take, every decision you make to keep moving forward, is a win. When you focus on progress, rather than perfection, you give yourself permission to make mistakes, learn from them, and keep going. You free yourself from the pressure of needing everything to be perfect, which allows you to take risks, try new things, and grow. If there's one thing I want you to remember, it's this. You are capable of more than you realize. The doubts, fears, and insecurities that have held you back are not the truth of who you are. They're simply the noise that has built up over time, telling you that you can't do something or that you're not enough. But the truth is, you are enough. You have everything you need to move forward and create the life you desire. The only thing standing between you and your goals is the belief that you are capable of achieving them. So, today, make the decision to believe in yourself. Take that first step, no matter how small, and commit to the process of becoming the person you've always wanted to be. You don't have to have it all figured out. Just start. The rest will follow. This is your moment. The journey to clarity, purpose, and fulfillment begins with one small decision: to stop doubting yourself and to start believing in your potential. It's not about being perfect, and it's not about having all the answers. It's about committing. to the journey, and knowing that you have everything within you to succeed. So, take that step today. You are not lazy, you are just lost. And now, you are on your way to finding your path. Your purpose is waiting. All you need to do is show up and take action.